Welcome to this new video with Alvin Kamals. I'm monitoring Debby and its impacts in the tropics, plus those temperature trends, so watch this video all the way to the end. But let me stress, it's not expected to impact our area, but as it gets into portions of the panhandle of Florida before getting quickly into parts of southeastern Georgia and southern Carolina, flash flooding is a huge concern. And this comes from our Hurricane Prediction Center as of Sunday, August 4th, so I should note, please follow them on their socials for the latest updates on rainfall totals and as well as the track. I've been retweeting that on my Twitter page as well. But again, from the Florida Big Bend region into southeastern Georgia and even the coastal plains of the Carolinas, we got to monitor for this flooding potential at least through Friday. It's going to quickly get into southeastern Georgia and southern Carolina, but that flooding threat is definitely something that we got to monitor closely, as well as storm surge on the west coast of Florida between 6 to 10 feet. Again, that number could change, so it's been a difficult forecast, so please make sure you're staying up to date with the Hurricane Prediction Center's website as well as their socials. Even hurricane conditions are possible Monday along portions of the Florida Big Bend region before quickly getting to parts of southeastern Carolina, and of course Georgia, where I've just mentioned parts of southeastern Georgia, and even impacts to storm surge and strong winds are possible in parts of the southeastern coast from Georgia even to the North Carolina. Again, storm surge would be along the coast. Let's go over this track, which has been shifting back and forth over the last couple of days, and please note this is just based on where we think the center could track. You can still get impacts outside of the track, and the bigger the cone gets, the bigger the uncertainty gets, so please note that as well. But this could become a low-end hurricane as it gets towards the panhandle of Florida as early Monday morning. Before late Monday, it gets quickly into southeastern Georgia. Also note that the timing could change as well. It will get quickly into southeastern Georgia where we're worried about a flash flooding potential, and then it gets into parts of southern Carolina and even North Carolina. Don't want to ignore you there. So if you have any friends and family here, we definitely have to monitor for that flooding potential, especially once it gets into Georgia late Monday. As of right now, this is what we're thinking on Sunday. That timing could change. It could speed up. And there's also a possibility that this slows down, which is definitely something I'm really not hoping for, because that could drop tons and tons of rain, which we do not want. And you're going to see the rainfall totals that our National Weather Service regionally in the U.S. is thinking about when it comes to the southeastern U.S. Again, not for our area, don't want to freak anyone out, but our Weather Prediction Center has been doing a really good job pinpointing where they're really concerned about flash flooding. In Tallahassee, also got to monitor this in the panhandle of Florida, but again, it quickly moves into the southeastern portions of Georgia where you got a moderate risk, at least a 40% chance of flash flooding. It's a pretty low chance when you think about it, but it's a high chance in general because it could definitely be a huge concern. Even as it gets into southern Carolina, we're thinking about a 70% chance, which is a pretty high potential for flash flooding into parts of the southern Carolina, southeastern Carolina, or maybe the southwestern portion of the Carolinas. So you gotta monitor this closely. Don't know if you're ready to see the rainfall totals that we're thinking about, but this comes the graphic from our U.S. National Weather Service, and look at those rainfall totals. I mean, parts of the panhandle of Florida, southeastern Georgia, and even bullseye in the extreme portions of southeastern Georgia and southern Carolina, where we could be looking at over a foot of rain, maybe even over that in some spots. As you can see, we're looking at 10 to 15 inches of rain, maybe some localized areas that go a little bit over that, and this is going to be for portions of southeastern Georgia and southern Carolina through Friday morning. So hopefully I've stressed that enough, that this flooding potential we're monitoring through Friday morning is something that we do need to monitor really closely. So if you have any friends and family here, parts of southeastern Georgia, southern Carolina, I will definitely let them know. And I know a lot of people want to focus on the exact rainfall totals, but over the last couple of days, this has been a pretty difficult forecast. So please note that you want to be following your National Weather Service in parts of Florida, southeastern Georgia, southern Carolina on their socials, because this could shift a little bit to the west, it could shift a little bit to the east. So please note that when you're looking at these rainfall totals. Again, the exact track could change. Our Weather Prediction Center right now thinks parts of southeastern Georgia, the panhandle of Florida, but again, it gets into southeastern Georgia pretty quickly, and southern Carolina for the greatest potential of flash flooding over the next 5 days, at least through that Friday time frame. So this is definitely something to monitor, and because I know some people may not be paying attention to the day they're watching this video, we're looking at least through Friday, August 9th, just to give you a good look at your calendar. But again, that exact track could change, so that's why I went quickly past this track you're looking at your screen, because it's been changing a lot from west to east. And also please note that storm surge will be a possibility as we're getting into the early portion of the week, as early as August 5th. I'm just saying the exact date so there's no confusion. Into the early portion of the week through at least Friday, you can see how it quickly gets into southeastern Georgia and southern Carolina. And we're going to monitor this also for North Carolina. But as of right now, we're going over those short-term concerns. So southeastern Georgia, southern Carolina, we definitely got to monitor those areas through a Friday morning for the potential for heavy rainfall. So hopefully that made sense. Now, we're ready to get back to St. Louis weather. We're getting to those temperature trends. We're entering into early August, but again, talking about the tropics, that's a huge concern. So if you have any friends and family there, I'll let them know about that. Again, don't be scared, be prepared. Please don't be stressed about what I'm telling you. Probably people already there are already getting the evacuation orders or things like that ready. There are probably areas and parts of the panhandle of Florida that don't want to mess with this and just leaving to get out of its way and come back a little bit later. But temperature trends, as we're looking at the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, our normal high for this time of the year is 90 degrees. And August 10th through the 14th is looking at the potential for below normal temperatures. And this basically means we could have a lot of 80s on the board between August 10th and 14th. Now, they update this every day, so this could change a little bit, but this is pretty nice to see considering that August is really when we get the big time heat or the worst of the heat before we start cooling things down. And please note that as we get later in August, our normal high will start falling. So by August 31st, our normal high, I believe, is about 86 degrees. So please note, we're starting to get to the end of the calendar year. So as we get closer and closer to the end of the year, that normal high, instead of going up, is going to start going down. So if you noticed how it went from 89 to 90, it's not going to go to 91, 92. Instead, as we progress through August, that normal high is going to go down. Now, when it comes to the 8 to 14 day outlook, which will change a lot, so please note, that's why it says it was issued August 4th. We're looking at temperatures leaning near normal, or at least leaning above normal in spots, especially portions of southwestern Missouri. That's how it looks like right now. That basically means we'll have a lot of 80s on the board, but approaching that 90-degree mark, maybe going a little bit over that in spots, cannot be rolled out as we're progressing through mid to possibly late August, but we'll get there when we get there. I'll continue to update this. The Climate Prediction Center also updates these outlooks every single day. Now, before we end this video, I just want to do a recap to make sure we're understanding this. And you don't have to watch this video. You can close out of it if you've already understood it. But let's go over this just one more time to make sure we get it. Again, Missouri, Illinois, no impacts for you. I want to stress that. This is for the southeastern portion of the U.S. We're monitoring the Florida Big Bend region through southeastern Georgia, the coastal plains of the Carolinas through Friday for the potential for some big-time flooding. You can't ignore that tornado potential, especially if you're on the eastern side of the storm. But again, we're really just concerned about that flooding potential and the danger for even storm surge as quickly as early Monday for portions of the west coast of Florida. But again, like I said earlier in this video, it's going to quickly get into southeastern Georgia. So Florida, although it's the main story this Sunday, August 4th, I want to note that a couple of days from now, it's going to be southeastern Georgia and southern Carolina that are getting that bigger threat. So please note that. So that storm surge, that flash flooding is going to be a concern. Even the potential for impacts from storm surge, possibly even strong winds on the coast or the southeastern coast of Georgia, and even as far north as North Carolina at this point. That means additional watches could be issued for those areas, but it's too far out to note exactly what's going to happen. But between now, Sunday, August 4th, and between August 9th, which is Friday, that 5-day time period is when we're going to have to monitor for that biggest flash flooding potential, southeastern Georgia and southern Carolina. Let's hope that this plays out a little bit better than expected, because I don't like when I have to use this tone to get people's attention, especially if it isn't for the St. Louis area. But I also want to talk about things other than St. Louis, just because our weather here at this point is not concerning. But I'll be monitoring this, and I'm going to have an outdoor weather report discussing everything I did in a 1-minute video or less. And this video is not 1 minute. So for quicker information, less robust information, and less complicated information, you can follow me on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to break down everything I said into one video, a way that won't scare people, but just letting them know that they need to be prepared for this. and even parts of, again, the southeastern U.S. got to monitor this closely. It's been a really difficult forecast pinpointing exactly where Debby was going to go. I was about to call it something else. Debby is what the name is called. It's been really confusing to figure out exactly where it's going to track. So over the next couple of days, we'll just have to see how this plays out. And again, the Hurricane Prediction Center is a really good resource when it comes to figuring out exactly where this is going to track. The rainfall totals could always shift from west to east. They could go a little bit further to the west. So if you have anyone in the panhandle of Florida, but I say the panhandle of Florida and then the southeastern Georgia becomes a bigger concern. So let's talk about the future. Parts of southeastern and southern Carolina, as far north as northern Carolina. Just monitor this. I don't want to scare you at this point, but just monitor that for the potential for flash flooding. Hopefully once it gets to the northern parts of North Carolina, it isn't such a big of a concern, but when we're looking at the rainfall totals as of right now, it's best that everyone monitors this really closely, especially if you're in portions of southeastern Georgia and southern Carolina. But until then, I'll have the latest on my Twitter page. I know this was a long video, but I just wanted to break this down so that everyone understands, and I hope you have a great start to your week, St. Louis. Remember, this is not impacts for us, but impacts for the southeastern portion of the U.S., and I'll have the latest on my Twitter page. The Hurricane Prediction Center is also a good resource as well.